everyone. The month of April is a very important month because we celebrate the World Hemophilia Day this coming April 17. And for this year, our theme is Diagnosis, the First Step to Care, which is actually very similar dun sa topic natin ngayong umaga. Similarly, here in the Philippines, we also coincide this celebration and tagged April as our National Hemophilia Awareness Month. With all these celebration, ang question kasi, why is it important? Or why does it matter? Bakit kailangan pag-usapan? Bakit mahalaga? Because early recognition can save lives. Yun ang gist bakit tayo nandito ngayong araw na to. So today, with the National Hemophilia Awareness Month celebration, we will be talking about hemophilia and focus on the diagnosis as the first step to care for our children. Again, this is Dr. Cindy Ali Marquez, your pediatric hematologist, at pag-usapan natin ng maigi ang sakit na ito. So for today, ang ating outline for discussion is recognition ng early signs ng bleeding sa younger children, the timely diagnosis and management of children with hemophilia. Hopefully, at the end of this lecture, matulungan ko kayong ma-identify kung kailan dapat magpakonsulta at dalhin ng inyong anak sa ospital. First, let's have a short background. Ano nga ba ang hemophilia? Parang karamihan kasi sa atin, ngayon lang natin maririnig ang sakit na ito. But let's take you back in time kung paano nagsimula ang sakit na ito. Hemophilia is an inherited bleeding disorder wherein your blood does not clot properly, leading to prolonged bleeding. In simple terms, ito ay namamanang sakit na kung saan mabagal ang pag-ampat o paghinto ng pagdurugo. Ito ay tinaguri ang royal disease dahil noong 20th century, nauso ang sakit na ito sa mga nobility, sa mga kings, queens sa Europe. Dahil nung panahong iyon, sa reign ni Queen Victoria, si Queen Victoria ay napag-alaman na hemophilia B carrier. In fact, napasa niya ito sa kanyang anak. 3 sa kanyang anak ay may hemophilia, 2 ay babaeng carrier, at isa naman ay namatay because of a minor trauma habang nagko-cross ng pedestrian. So, royal disease sinasabi nila dahil nga nagsimula sa nobility. Also, sa modern generation royal disease dahil mahal at medyo expensive yung treatment. Yun ang somehow na gist doon. So, royal disease noon, royal disease hanggang ngayon. So, gaano nga ba karami ang may sakit na ganito sa ating bansa? In our country, according to the WFH 2024 annual report, tinatayang may 1,572 recorded cases ng hemophilia sa ating mga Pilipino at halos 16% ay may edad 13 years old pababa, 10% ay 14 to 18 years old at ang karamihan na recorded cases ay mga adults na. Ngunit, ang problem ay ang bilang na ito ay iniisip ng ating mga experts na mas mababa dahil sa underreporting or hindi kaagad i-diagnose ang mga taong may hemophilia. Kaya ang focus natin sa taong ito, sa ating celebration ng World Hemophilia Day, ay early diagnosis as the first step to care. So, paano nga ba nakukuha ang sakit na ito? So, karamihan at kadalasan, ito ay namamana sa ating mga magulang. Ngunit maaari din po kayong magkaroon ng hemophilia dahil sa random genetic mutation. Ang sakit na ito ay usually nakikita sa mga boys. So boys are affected and they are symptomatic, okay? Yan ang common na sila ang common na may symptoms ng sakit. And girls also are tagged as carriers, but they can manifest the symptoms at a mild lang. Hindi ganun kasing lala tulad ng girls. Minsan, kung kailan pa sila nabunutan ng ngipin, na surgery, dun lang malalaman. O kaya sa girls naman, kapag sila ay nagdalaga, nagkakaroon ng heavy menses. But both gender can be affected. It's just that boys are usually severe and symptomatic. Kaya karamihan ng mga pasyente nating diagnosed ay lalaki at ang girls ay carrier. So, Ano nga ba yung mga symptoms na kailangan bantayan? So, for this presentation, we coined the term bleeds. And our tagline would be, if it bleeds, think of hemophilia. Bleeds stand for bruising, lingering bleed, excessive bleed, enlarged painful joint, deep muscle bleed, and spontaneous bleed. Let's start with B, or bruising, or easy bruising in general. Ito ay madalas o ang hindi maipaliwanag na pagpapasa. Common sa ating mga toddlers, sa mga early children, di ba malilikot sila? So, normal and then commonly makikita mo din talaga na meron silang mga pasa or bugbog. Ang common areas na merong pasa ang toddler ay nasa tuhod, nasa mga braso, nasa ganyan. Pero kung napapansin mo na yung baby mo meron ng pasa sa parts ng body na hindi naman associated with movement, you have to think of other causes for the bleeding. Also, kung sobrang dami, mabilis siyang magpasa, or maraming bumps sa head, lalo na sa mga early children, it's a sign that you might need to seek consult. Letter L stands for lingering bleed or long bleeding episodes in general. Matagal huminto ang pagdurugo kahit maliit lang na sugat. Ideally, kapag nasugatan ka, it would take about 5 to 10 seconds na dapat nag-aampat na. Matagal na nga yung 30 seconds eh. Usually, mabilis lang talagang mag-aampat. Pero napapansin mo, kahit maliit lang na sugat, non-stop sa pagdudugo. That is a sign, that is maybe a sign that you have an inherited bleeding condition. Ang isa pang common symptom sa mga bata is yung paulit-ulit na natin na pag-nosebleed. Mapapansin mo na nag-nosebleed sila, nag-nosebleed at sobrang dami, ang hirap mag-ampat. Maybe you need to consult a hematologist or a pediatrician also para matulungan kayong i-formally ma-check ang inyong anak. E stands for excessive bleed or excessive bleeding. Excessive bleed, makikita po natin yan kapag nagkaroon tayo ng tinatawag natin ng mga hemostatic challenges. So kung saan may mga pagkakataon na nabibreak ang skin, ideally po magkaklat ang dugo, matitigil ang pagdurugo. Pero kapag ang batang may hemophilia, nag-undergo sila ng mga excessive bleed. Kailan po yon? Example, for young children, nagbakuna po tayo. After bakuna, of course, we can expect some form of redness. But for children with hemophilia, mapapansin mo, sobrang lumalaki yung mga braso nila. After may injection, nandyan pa rin yung pagdudugo, nag-uus yung dugo kung saan nagkaroon ng sign ng vaccination. Yun are early warning sign that your child might be suffering from hemophilia. Another one, kapag nagpabunot ng ngipin. Dental procedures are hemostatic challenges in hemophilia patient. Minsan, dun pa natin nalalaman na, may problema yung anak ko sa pagdurugo. Dahil, after mabunutan ng ngipin, lumipas na ang araw, nagdudugo pa rin yung saan binunutan ng ngipin ng inyong anak. Kapag may ganoong sintomas, dalhin na po kaagad sa inyong pediatrician para magpakonsulta. Bakit? Prolonged bleeding and hemostatic challenges are characteristic of hemophilia. Aside from dental extraction, nandyan din ang circumcision sa mga batang lalaki. After ma-circumcise o matuli, nandun lumalabas yung symptoms ng prolonged bleeding. So, mapapansin mo kung saan may trauma, be it intentional or not, dun lumalabas ang increase in severity ng bleeding, which could tell us that there is something is wrong with blood clotting. Next, there is an enlarged painful joint. Children are mobile in general. Malilikot sila. Pag ang isang bata hindi malikot, hindi yun normal, no? So, pag tinitingnan mo yung mga bata, madalas na uumpog ang kanilang mga knee joints. So, kapag lumaki na lumaki yung knee joints, nagkaroon ng bleeding sa loob ng joints, namaga, pananakit, as in sobrang lumaki siya, it might be a sign that there is bleeding inside the joint na kailangan ninyong magpatingin. That's a very telltale classic knee joint arthropathy ng hemophilia. Another is deep muscle bleed or merong pananakit, paninigas ng mga muscles. Sa thighs, most common, yun ang common na presentation. And after D is S. Spontaneous bleeding. Ang spontaneous bleeding meaning bigla ang pagdurugo. Ibig sabihin, kahit walang dahilan, example niyan yung mga newborns or infant natin, di ba? Kakapanganak pa lang nila, technically, wala naman dapat any form of trauma. But pwede sila magkaroon ng biglaang pagdurugo sa utak dahil sa birth trauma o kaya naman kapag binubuhat sila, hinahagis-hagis mo sila, nagkakaroon ng bleeding sa brain. O kaya minsan naman, pag dumi or pag-ihi na may kasamang dugo na wala namang kayong ginawa, all of these are signs of hemophilia. So, I would want to emphasize, if it bleeds, think of hemophilia. So, after all of these symptoms, bakit kailangan nating alam yung mga sintomas? Because if your child has any of these symptoms, kung nakita mo yung mga symptoms na binanggit ko kanina, if it bleeds, think of hemophilia, do not delay consult. We encourage you to seek medical help early para mabigyan namin kayo ng mga tamang advice at tamang self-help kung paano ninyo ina-navigate ang hemophilia world. So, bakit important? Bakit important ang early diagnosis? Bakit kailangan nating malaman kaagad? Because kapag nalaman natin kaagad ang problema, mabibigyan natin ng agarang solusyon. Una, mabibigyan namin kayo ng mga advice, ng mga abiso, kung paano natin maiiwasan ang mga serious bleeding sa inyong anak. Mapiprevent natin ang mga complications dahil sa paulit-ulit na pagdurugo. Common dyan ay yung tinatawag naming joint arthropathy na kung saan dahil sa paulit-ulit na pagdudugo sa mga knee joints, nahihirapang makapaglakad ng maayos ang inyong anak later on. At thirdly, natutulungan namin ang inyong anak at ang inyong pamilya na mamuhay ng healthy at normal life. Hindi naman po kasi ibig sabihin na kapag kayo po ay mahemophilia ay limited na po ang inyong mundo. Kung baga lilit ang inyong mundo, that's not true. We try to encourage a healthy and normal life with hemophilia patients, of course, exercising safety and protection. So yun ang importance po ng early diagnosis. So, ngayon na alam na natin na mayroon mga sintomas at yung sintomas ay may posibilidad na kayo ay may hemophilia, paano naman natin makukumpirma kung ikaw ay may sakit na ganito? Una, nariyan ang family history. So we will go back again sa family history. Tulad nung nangyari sa Europe ng 20th century, applicable pa rin yun ngayon. Bakit? Sa family history, malalaman mo na madalas nababanggit yung tito niya po, meron din pong sintomas ng matagal na pagdurugo. Yung pinsan niya po na lalaki, meron din pong sintomas. Ang catch niyan, pinsang lalaki, tito sa maternal side. Okay? Maternal cousins and your maternal uncles. Bakit? If you will remember, ang babae po ay carrier. At ang mga sintomas sa side niya, nandoon sa side din ng family, sila yung magpapresent ng sakit, yung mga boys niyang kapamilya. It's not with the paternal side, but most commonly, it is in the maternal side. Your maternal cousins, your maternal uncles. Minsan nga po, kapag yung maternal uncles mo, maternal cousins mo may diagnosed na hemophilia, it might be prudent at necessary for your male child to have it worked up early kahit wala pang symptoms. Para lang alam mo ahead. So, yun ang important. Family history. Next, yung mga sintomas na binanggit ko kanina at napag-usapan natin extensively, if it bleeds, think of hemophilia. Ang third ay yung mga laboratory test na kung saan i-request ng inyong doktor. Common dyan ng CBC. But for the purpose of diagnosis, mapapansin natin na ang mga batang may hemophilia at nag-request po kami ng coagulation analysis, matataas po ang level ng kanilang PTT. So, matataas ang level ng PTT. Kapag mataas po ang level ng PTT, ang next po namin gagawin is magpapagawa po kami ng clotting factor assay para malaman po kung ano po yung factor na deficient. Ang clotting factor po, sila po yung responsible sa pagpapaampat ng pagdurugo. So kung mababa ang inyong clotting factor, most likely po meron po kayong hemophilia. And sa mga higher centers abroad, they do genetic testing wherein they do a complicated DNA analysis para malaman kung meron po kayong hemophilia or not. But simple to say, clotting factor assay, malalaman na po natin kung kayo ay may hemophilia or wala. At Base po sa laboratory test na ipinagawa at ni-request po ng inyong doktor, malalaman po natin kung anong klase po ng hemophilia mayroon ng inyong anak. Hemophilia A or yung classic hemophilia kapag mababa po ang inyong factor 8 at hemophilia B naman kapag mababa ang inyong factor 9. So, karamihan po sa ating mga pasyenteng may hemophilia ay hemophilia A po ang classification. This is applicable in the Philippines as well. Around nasa 10% lang po or 15% ang hemophilia B, while yung hemophilia A po ay mas madami po talaga. And base din po sa factor assay na pinagawa ng inyong doktor, malalaman natin ang type and severity ng classification ng hemophilia. Bakit? Kung gaano po kalubha ang hemophilia, ganun din minsan ang manifestations niya. So, we have mild, moderate, and severe hemophilia depending on the clotting factor levels based on your testing. So, if you have mild hemophilia, your clotting factor activity is 5 to 40%, no? Yung symptoms niya lumalabas minsan kapag adult ka na. Wala kang spontaneous bleeding. Minsan, kung kayo lang ay biglang naoperahan for whatever conditions, appendectomy or whatnots, dun lang lumalabas yung symptoms na matagal na pag-aampat o magdudugo. So these children na may mild hemophilia, most of them, they grow up healthy and walang pong any symptoms. Another one is the moderate. Moderate hemophilia, meaning you have 1 to 5% remaining of the factor activity. This type of hemophilia is common in childhood. At childhood pa lang, nagmamanifest na yung sakit. Ano yung mga common na presentation? Yun yung mga pag-usapan natin kanina. Prolonged bleeding after mild injury, bleeding after exercises. For girls, there is delayed bleeding or prolonged menses kapag nagdalaga na sila. But I would want to emphasize on the severe type. The severe type, yung factor level nila ay less than 1%. Ganun kababa. Halos wala na silang factor, clotting factor sa katawan. Kaya ang sintomas nila, nakikita natin habang sila ay nasa infancy stage or maliliit pa. Ito yung sinasabi ko na minsan may randomly na kakapanganak pa lang may pagdurugo na sa brain dahil sa birth trauma o kaya kapag binubuhat natin at inaalog-alog natin yung bata, nakikita na natin na after nyan, may bleeding sila, spontaneous bleeding, ang lalaki ng mga bukol sa ulo, merong mga random na pagdurugo sa joints, muscle hematomas. Most of this is compatible with a severe hemophilia in infancy. And nakakatakot po ang severe hemophilia in general, kaya we need to be vigilant about the symptoms. Kaya very important and timely yung discussion natin sa hemophilia this month. Ngayon na alam na natin yung sintomas, kung paano ma-diagnose, the next question is, kamusta po ang life ng mga persons with hemophilia? Ano po ba ang ginagawa natin for them? Ano po ba yung gagawin? Hahayaan na lang po ba sila? Or meron po ba tayong pwedeng magawa? Of course, meron. Meron at meron. And kung iisipin mo, sobrang multidisciplinary po ang treatment for hemophilia. Marami pong kailangan, no? Yung sinasabi nila, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to support a child with hemophilia. But for the purpose of this discussion, in general, we have two treatment goals, dalawa. First, that is to treat acute bleed promptly. Gamutin ang pagdurugo ng agaran. Magbigay ng tamang gamot agad-agad. And to prevent bleeding, to prevent complications. So, let's start with treat acute bleed. With treating acute bleed promptly, may gamot sa hemophilia. Ang binibigay po namin ay clotting factor replacement. Kumbaga, kung deficient ka sa factor 8, nagbibigay kami ng factor 8 factor replacement na available po yan sa mga larger centers natin. But then again, it is expensive. Kaya nga po, hanggang ngayon, applicable pa rin ang term na royal disease. No? Hindi lang pang European time. Applicable pa rin hanggang ngayon. And we give supportive management in terms of pampaampat ng dugo. Nandyan yung mga tranexamic acids natin and desmopressin. But treating acute bleed is a form of treatment na kung saan we give on-demand therapy, which is kung anong specific bleeding mo, magbibigay tayo ng replacement. And the dose, and kung gaano kadami at gaano katagal ka magbibigay ng factor, depends on the site of bleed at yung severity ng pagdurugo. So this technicalities should be discussed with your healthcare provider, with your pediatric hematologist, and your hematologist will tell you on how much to give and how long are we gonna give it. So again, we will be back to consult right away. Yun ang main tenet ng treating acute bleed promptly. Important for mothers and parents is to determine what are the high-risk bleed. Because high-risk bleed means emergency. Kapag nakita mo po yung mga sintomas na to at na-identify mo siya as high-risk bleed, alam mo na there is no time to waste. You have to bring your child to the hospital. Ano yon? Pag meron kang napapansin na possible intracranial bleed, rapidly lumalaki po yung bukol, na hindi proportionate sa trauma, nagkaroon ng blunt abdominal injury yung inyong anak. Anong ibig sabihin ng abdominal injury? Kumbaga, nabangga, tumama sa gilid ng mesa, nag-hit ang tiyan, pwede magkaroon ng injury sa internal organs. That is an emergency. Another one, kung meron sobrang laking pagdudugo sa mga joints natin at hindi niya na nagagalaw yung kamay niyan, nawawala ng sensation yung kamay o yung paa, it could mean an acute compartment syndrome. It is an emergency. Number 4, there is an airway compromise or may possible threat sa daluyan ng hangin. Bakit? Kung nagkaroon ka ng mild injury or damage or trauma sa may neck area at nagkaroon ng progressive na paglalaki ng bukol or ng bruise or ng pamamaga dyan sa area na yan, it could compress your airway, mahirapang huminga po ang inyong anak, bring to the hospital emergency right away. Another, if may napansin po kayong pagdurugo sa dumi or yung napansin nyo na pumula po ang kanyang ihi, you bring your child to the emergency room because it's a genitourinary or GI bleed. And another one, if there is a bleeding inside the eyes, okay, around the eyes or even bleeding inside the eyes, pwede kasi magkaroon ng threat to vision or baka kung progressive yung bleeding, hindi makontrol yung bleeding, magkaroon ng ma-compromise ang vision ng inyong anak. So these are emergencies. So we need to educate our parents regarding the possibility of high-risk bleed because these are emergencies and we have no time to waste. So bring your child whenever you see these possible signs of high-risk bleed. But in general, mayroon kaming tinatawag na mga low-risk bleed lang naman, yung mga soft tissue swelling. Kaya we advocate for self-help at home. Of course, nandyan yung self-help at home, yung price. Ang common kasi sa hemophilia, mayroon mga soft tissue bleed, no? Hindi naman yung severe bleeding na nakita natin. Ang common dyan is yung mga joint bleeding, medyo may pasa, na hindi naman sobrang laki, hindi naman disabling. Ang common knee joints, elbow joints, ankle joints. So, of course, mas maigi pa rin na magpakonsulta sa doktor. Kaya kasi magre-replace pa rin tayo ng factor. But should there be a time delay na hindi pa kayo nakakapunta sa ospital, kunyari malayo kayo sa hemophilia treatment center, no, malalaking hospitals natin, meron kayong pwedeng gawin sa bahay. Example, dati, common lang dyan yung RICE, rest, ice, compress, elevate. Now we add P. That's why it's no longer RICE, but it's now PRICE. P for protect. You protect your involved joint from further injury by not moving. You immobilize it. Maglagay ka ng splint. Kung elbow joint din, lagyan mo siya ng splint dyan para hindi mo na siya nagagalaw. You protect your affected joint from further damage. So, important yun. Number 2 is R, you rest. You rest your affected joint for 2 to 3 days para hindi ka mag-add pa ng another injury. During this time, pwede kang mag-crutches para mag-support sa mobility, para hindi rin mag-add ng another load sa affected na knee joint. The next is you put ice, kasi kapag nag-ice ka ng area, you limit the inflammation. C is compress. We put elastic bandage dun sa area to limit yung pamamaga, but not super tight naman na parang kinompress mo na yung buong, parang just so enough lang na ma-cover mo yung area. Not too tight, not too loose, just so lang to cover the area to prevent further swelling. Because since hemophilia is a delayed type of bleeding, kung hindi mo siya i-compress, tuloy-tuloy siyang lalaki. Ganun ang normal na mechanism niya. And then you elevate it above your heart to reduce the blood flow. So, after ng how we treat active bleed, we now go to prevention because yun naman din talaga yung gusto nating mangyari. In all things, kahit na inherited pang hemophilia, we will still advocate for prevention because prevention is still better than cure. Why is prevention important? We prevent bleed to avoid the complication of chronic bleeding, which could lead to a debilitating complications later on, like mahirapan pong makapaglakad ang inyong anak dahil sa paulit-ulit na joint bleed. So if we have an opportunity to prevent bleeding, we do so. How do we do that? If we discussed earlier, the on-demand therapy, wherein kung kailan lang may pagdudugo, doon tayo nagbibigay ng factor. We have prophylaxis treatment. So, kapag ang mga batang may hemophilia severe o kaya paulit-ulit na nagdudugo kahit na wala namang trauma, sometimes we advocate, not sometimes, but we encourage prophylaxis treatment. Kung baga nagbibigay kami ng factor replacement at a low dose, kunyari 3 times a week, para maiwasan ang further bleed. Ang downside nito, dahil mahal po ang factor concentrate, at nakadepende po ang dose at timbang ng inyong anak, again, we are back to royal disease. Mahal po yung treatment ng on-demand. Mahal na nagbibigay ka ng factor. Pero meron po tayong ginawang cost analysis na kung saan, if we try prophylaxis treatment, compared sa magagastos mo kapag ikaw po ay nag-on-demand, mas mura pa rin daw po ang prophylaxis treatment. But of course, since mahal po yung gamot, hindi po siya ganun ka-accessible. Kaya majority po here in the Philippines, I think at least, we are still giving on-demand. But in our center, we are trying to maximize and give prophylaxis treatment whenever we can. Southeast Asia countries, nagbibigay na rin po sila ng prophylaxis treatment also. In the future, we hope, and I envision myself na sana lahat ng batang may hemophilia ay naka-prophylaxis kung kaya. Next is, for our young children, we encourage safe play. Safe play by the use of PPE, mga protective personal equipment niya, helmet, knee pads, padded floors, which we will be discussing a little later kapag dumating tayo sa the provision for safe play for our kids. Number 2, another one is to observe good oral hygiene because oral bleeding is the main cause of bleeding sa mga hemophilia patients. We try to avoid certain medications, yung mga blood thinners po natin tulad ng ibuprofen, aspirin. So, bawal po ang self-medication. We do not advocate for self-medications, no? You consult your doctor and discuss with your doctor kung ano po yung safe na pwedeng ibigay sa inyong anak. Sa mga Pilipino, uso po yan no? Yung self-medication. So, with hemophilia, we don't advocate it. We don't advocate it in general. Consult your doctor regarding the safe medications that would be used in your children. Number 3 is active and healthy lifestyle. Important po sa mga batang may hemophilia ang weight management. Because kapag ang isang batang hemophilia ay naging obese or overweight, it puts an added stress to the knee joint. And if you will remember with our discussion earlier, ang common affected na joint ay knee joint. So, kapag mayroong paulit-ulit na bleeding sa knee joints, nasisira yung mga joints natin doon. At kapag mabigat or obese ang isang bata, it's an added load. So, lalong nasisira yung, lalo nagkakaroon ng some form of permanent damage na irreversible, leading to immobility or nahihirapan sila na makapaglakad ng maayos. That's why we try to promote healthy and active management, active lifestyle for them kasi minsan kadalasan po hindi na sila, wala ng physical exercise kasi natatakot yung parents na ay pag nag-exercise sila, pag nag-sport sila, baka magkaroon ng bleeding. No, there are safe exercises and safe sports for children, which we will be discussing later on. That's why we encourage a healthy, active lifestyle because being physically fit could help you also maintain your joint health. Yun ang very important po, ano? Next, paulit-ulit na po ito, regular check-up, no? Magpakonsulta po sa doktor, hindi po nangangagat yung mga doktor ninyo, no? Kailangan nyo lang pong i-discuss, be open about your needs so that we can help you on how to navigate this condition. Next, before we are now closing to the end of this discussion, but I would want to emphasize on three parts: oral hygiene, safe play, and provision for sports. Because all of these three are very important in our preventive care: oral hygiene and oral health. In the Philippines particular, ang common cause ng bleeding sa mga batang may hemophilia is poor oral hygiene. Nandiyan po ang dental caries, gingivitis, sira yung ngipin. Pag nasira yung ngipin, nagdudugo, paulit-ulit na nauospital ang bata, nabibigyan ng mga factory replacements. So, we encourage good oral health, no? So we try to promote na magkonsulta ka agad sa dentista, even in the eruption of first tooth pa lang, kahit yung first tooth pa lang, magpa-maintain na tayo to maintain the good health ng ating bibig or ating teeth. We also encourage na using medium soft bristle toothbrush, no? Para lang maprotektahan natin ang ngipin. Because yun po yung very common neglected part po talaga ang ating oral cavity. At since nga sinasabi ko, ang dental procedure ay isang form of hemostatic challenge for hemophilia. So since may sira kang ngipin, non-stop yun ang magdudugo ng magdudugo. So consult, aside from your pediatrician, consult with your dentist also and have them checked regularly para ma-maintain natin ang good oral hygiene. Next is the provision for safe play in children. Ang mga bata po, sabi ko nga, they are naturally inclined to play. Hindi po sila bata if hindi po sila naglalaro, no? So when you say kids, it's play. So very important po yun sa akin. Karamihan po kasi dahil po sa anxiety ng parents, hindi na sila nagpo-provide ng parang there is no provision for a play anymore. Parang, okay, dyan ka na lang mag-iPad ka, o nagiging silang couch potato, nag-gain ng weight. So, the problem continues. Your children can play even if meron po silang hemophilia. We just have to supervise the play times. You supervise the play times, you protect your child from bumps by using helmet or knee pads. You provide a padded play area. If kung bata pa, you use soft toys. You encourage to avoid rough plays, yung mga jumping, trampoline, yung mga ganun. Otherwise, they can also, pwede silang makipaglaro, no? Wala lang yung nahihit yung head, wala lang yung tinutulak. But there's always a provision for safe play. Supervision lang ng parents ang important. And also that reassurance that your child needs to play with other children as well. It's part of their mental health development. So, never be afraid. Just supervise your children during playtimes. Have time to supervise them para naman meron silang added na physical activity aside from their so parang screen time lang ng screen time. We advocate for a safe play for children. And lastly, the provision for safe sports and children. Hindi naman po ibig sabihin na wala ka ng sports kapag ikaw may hemophilia. Again, kung may supervised na sports, meron ding may supervised na play, may supervised na sports din. So, usually we coordinate with the coaches, with the trainers na, yeah, my child has hemophilia, so maybe you can tailor yung training niya para sa kanya. We also advocate wearing PPE, knee pads, and other helmet kapag nagtitrain. And commonly, we focus on no contact, low impact activities that improve muscle strength, balance, and coordination. Ang pinaka-safe, hindi naman pinaka-safe, but ano yung mga sports na ina-advocate namin for children? Number 1, nandyan yung swimming, walking, hiking, archery. Wala yung mga brisk and rough na movement, mga high-impact activities like football, softball, yung may mga body contact, wala yun. Although recently, no, just very recently, we have a shift somehow na kung talagang hindi maiiwasan, kung gusto talagang if ever you have mild hemophilia, kunyari, and you want to engage in contact sports, we give somehow provision for a prophylactic factor replacement bago ka mag-sports. May mga ganun. Again, this is something that you need to discuss with your doctor. So, consult early so that we can help you whenever. But children with hemophilia can play. Children with hemophilia can be engaged in sports and have a healthy lifestyle, okay? So, before we end, I think this is my last or second to the last slide. So, For the parents, very important ang role po ninyo in caring our children with hemophilia. No? So, I want to emphasize the role of parents in caring for children with hemophilia. Number one, I hope I discussed to you the early signs of bleeding, especially high-risk bleeds, such as yung mga bleeding sa head, rapidly enlarging bump, bleeding sa tiyan or sa pagdudumi na may kasamang ihi or pag-ihi na may kasamang dugo. These are high-risk bleeding, so do not delay consult. Seek medical help early. We are here to help you manage and navigate this condition. So you just need to be more vigilant and be able to identify what are the high-risk bleeds and the early signs of bleeding for you to be diagnosed early. Number three, provide support for a safe place and activities. Kasi nga sabi ko nga mostly, syempre as a parent, we would want to protect our child, no? It's the very instinct of a parent naman to provide, sana hindi magkasakit yung anak ko, wala sanang any other problem. So, nandiyan na, sometimes nalilimit natin yung mga pwede nilang gawin. Kaya, as a parent, we try to provide them a safe place wherein they can play, no? We try to support them dun sa mga supports na pwede nilang i-engage. And then, if you have doubts, you can discuss this with your doctor para maturuan palalo kung paano i-individualize ang play o ang sports ng inyong anak. We advocate for a healthy lifestyle for children with hemophilia. This would help them greatly in terms of their emotional, psychosocial wellness, as well as physical health also, no? And then lastly, I would like to encourage for our patients na may hemophilia to join our support groups. We have hemophilia support groups, which are important as a form of support in not just emotional but also logistic wise, no? They are also advocacy groups wherein tinutulungan nila bawat na parents na magkaroon ng access to care. And meron din silang mga activities, a form of belongingness also. And in general, mas maganda kasi na may support groups ka because you do not feel alone, no? So these support groups are very visible and they are also visible online. We have the HAP and the HAPLOS, the Hemophilia Advocates of the Philippines. We also have the Hemophilia Philippine Foundation Incorporated. These two support groups have regional centers as well. So they are visible online. You can message them, you can join them para being a member of the support group would usually somehow dissipate the stress and help you also navigate these conditions. So, very important po kasi na meron tayong kasama. And for us to never feel alone in this battle. It might be tedious, it might be long, but hindi po kayo nag-iisa. Nandyan po yung provision for help from your doctor, from your national government programs, and also a private organization that could help you navigate this condition. And hopefully na-relay ko po ng maayos yung mga dapat na ating tandaan at bantayan sa ganitong sakit. If there's one thing that I would like you to remember is early diagnosis means better care and better future for our children. So again, this is Dr. Cindy, your pediatric hematologist. Thank you for listening and I hope you gain insights in this lecture. Thank you. For any injury, it has to stop because if it does not stop, it will lead to prolonged bleeding. So, prolonged bleeding in major areas can lead to exsanguination or parang nauubusan ka ng dugo. Yun ang simple terms at that. But if it stop naman, pero paulit-ulit na matagal na nawawalan ka ng dugo, pwede ka magkaroon ng low hemoglobin, pwede ka magkaroon ng anemia, which could also affect yung growth and development ng inyong anak. So, yun ang isang number one. Number two, repeated bleedings in common areas tulad ng knee joints could lead to a lifetime and chronic arthropathy na debilitating siya. Common po yun na nakikita natin sa mga batang may hemophilia ngayon na limited po yung range of motion, range of movement because of bleeding inside the joint na hindi naaampat. Nagkakaroon sila ng permanent damage which could lead to a permanent mobility disorder. Siyempre, we don't want that because we would want a normal functioning child, a normal functioning adult later on. And if the bleeding does not stop, it leads to permanent debilitating injury. Yun po yung common. So we try to advocate for an early recognition so that we need to provide proper treatment right away. Yes, actually, that's very important because, again, ang difficulty po sa girls, lalo na kung walang family history, no? Majority of us, we do not know that we are carriers, no? The only provision for testing for girls is kapag napapansin mo na, uy, yung mga pinsan ko parang may hemophilia or nagdudugo ng hindi matagal. O yung tito ko may na-diagnose na may hemophilia. Kung may ganun kang history na sa family, we try to also have you tested. O no? Para malaman mo din for your future family planning. But of course, this should not limit your reproductive plans in the future. But just so you know, and you'll be prepared. That is, yun ang ina-advocate namin. In the best case, best world scenario, ganoon talaga dapat. Na early, habang career pa lang yung mommy, may counseling na para paglabas ng baby na anticipate na, we can plan, no? However, yun na nga, since karamihan ng mga babaeng may hemophilia ay may problem with inherited bleeding conditions, hindi sila nagmamanifest, lalo na kung hemophilia. Very mild ang symptoms. I even recall one patient na babae siya, kung hindi po siya naoperahan ng appendicitis, nag-appendectomy, dun pa nalaman. Or minsan naman, prolonged bleeding during menses. Yun lang, very subtle signs that you will not think that you are a carrier. I think the main important factor is if you have a significant family history, then go away, be tested so that you can also prepare yourself and plan your family. So that I advocate also. Yung mga bleeding sa loob ng tiyan, technically, parang I have not heard pa of any. Karamihan ng mga intracranial bleeding ay inside the womb kasi there is no form of trauma. The womb is a perfect place, no? So you're just swimming in there, you know, you have proper insulation for everything. So there is no provision for the trauma. What the trauma happens when you pass the birth canal. So nandun yung, pansin mo, di ba kaya nga yung mga baby, pag minsan difficult yung childbirth, meron malalaki yung ulo, the hematoma, the bleeding resolves. Minsan kung may mga yung mga infant or yung mga maliliit na bata na newborn na may hemophilia, minsan hindi yun nag-resolve, nagkakaroon ng intracranial bleed. Lalo na kung severe ang phenotype. So yun ang mga dapat bantayan. But if you like, example, like carrier ka, you have 50% chance, do we have a program na hindi ka mag-normal delivery, mag-cesarean ka. Wala pa kaming ganong program because 50-50% na, no, we try to be conservative about this also. And also cost effectiveness, medyo not all din kasi are has an equal access to care somehow. Bata, usually kasi hindi mo malalaman no? So, if ever you had a bleeding after vaccination, you try to put ice on the area and then consult your doctor right away so that your subsequent vaccination can be coordinated with the health center to use the smallest possible needle. Okay. So, very important yon. Although maliliit naman yung needle naman na ginagamit sa mga vaccine, but sometimes, kung may provision for a smaller one, we use the smaller one para maiwasan na magkaroon ng bleeding dun sa area. Because the bigger the needle, the traumatic it is. So, we'll try to limit the trauma. So, yun ang number one na advice natin for bleeding in children. Those hemophilia na kailangan babunutan ng ngipin, we plan and we coordinate with the dentist because we give factor infusion bago magbunot. Depende rin sa kung anong gagawin ng dentist. Kung maraming bubunutin ng dentist, kung isa lang kunyari, tapos mild lang hemophilia niya, pwedeng pampaampat lang. Depende, we try to individualize kung anong gagawin ng dentist saka kung ano yung severity niya. But in general, if your child has hemophilia and you will be having a dental extraction or oral rehabilitation, we give factor infusion before you go to the dentist. And then we prescribe it 3 days after. Para lang to make sure na makontrol ang bleeding. Because with hemophilia, there is delayed bleeding. Pwede siyang pwede siyang initially tumigil lang kaunti, pero tuloy-tuloy. So, it would lead to severe na lalaki yung pamamaga mo dyan, magkakaroon ng pag-iipon ng dugo, pwede mong ma-aspirate yung dugo, pwede kang mahirapang huminga. Yun ang worry namin. So, important talaga ang early diagnosis because once you diagnose, you will know what to do next for you to have a normal life. Circumcision also, yung mga mag-circumcise, it's a very valid question, lalo na sa mga younger boys natin, no? Circumcision, ang iba hindi na nagpapa-circumcise or technically there is nothing wrong with being uncircumcised, na? But if your patient or if the child wants to be circumcised, we plan it also. We coordinate with a surgeon or pediatric surgeon or a pediatric urologist to do the very fast way of circumcision. Merong technique silang ginagawa dyan. And we give factor infusion also, just to limit the bleed. But it's visible. We have done that already, many times. Dyan is itong mga muscles natin sa thighs and sa pelvic area, the psoas muscle. If there is a bleeding there, ang common sign dyan, hindi ka nakakapaglakad. You have difficulty in ambulating, tapos masakit pag ginagalaw mo ang paa mo. So, you cannot resume the normal. Kung dati nakakapaglakad ka, biglang bawat hakbang masakit, mainit yung area, think of a psoas bleed or a muscular bleed. And these are emergency. Before we end, common problem talaga. Parang nalilimit yung world nila because of the condition. But the anxiety is normal, no? Talagang common na maging anxious sila because they would want to protect your child. That's the very basic feeling of a mother or of a parent. But there are provision for safe spaces, safe play, safe sports for them. So we encourage them to be healthy and, live normally as much as they can.